Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist, and the eagle will fly, and it's gonna be here. I brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Thank you there, Gerhard. We are brought to you by the Red, White, and Blue. Coming here after September the 11th, that song was very appropriate there with Toby. Today's guest is Jerry Lyons. He's from the Oxford Police Department. We're going to talk about a lot of things going on at OPD. You stay tuned. Get you a pen. Be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Today's guest is Jerry Lyons. He's with the Oxford Police Department. He does a lot of community policing and a lot of other things, and we're going to talk about a lot of things going on in the Oxford Police Department. And welcome to the show, Jerry.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, sir.
Well, that's a disclaimer. Me and you have been knowing each other, or you and I have been knowing each other for a couple of decades now.
A long time.
Long time. I first met you at 911.
Yes, sir. Back in 1998, I started there.
Reddy Fox.
That
we
was
won't
it.
talk about Reddy Fox.
No, sir. Fun times.
It was fun.
The 911 superhero.
Yeah, and we got a lot of friends in that outfit, and we were just talking about old Shelton. We give Shelton Gray a shout out there for Shelton, just on the road again all the time, and
He is. He's something else.
doing what he loves to do. But that's a great organization, and I value my time that I got to be on the board out there. Talking about Oxford Police Department, I want to talk about some things that's going on there that has been in the paper and being on social media. You got some new things. You got a new vehicle down there, don't you?
We do.
I call it a vehicle.
We have an armored vehicle. It's a Bearcat. Would be used in like SWAT type situations.
As a defensive.
Yes, sir.
Where did I see that? Was that the one I saw in Missouri? Where they have one of those? That's what started all the hoopla about
out west,
military equipment.
Out west, there was a Bearcat that was used. I don't remember which agency it was.
It was in Missouri where they had I'm trying to think of the name of the town in Missouri that it happened, where they had the riots and all that stuff.
Ferguson.
Ferguson. And that's what caused the former president to remove military equipment because that Bearcat said it made them feel like it was militaristic, that the police had been made like military, and so they took that Bearcat, and of course Calhoun County lost its 113, and it was a defensive.
They were. Now, the Bearcat was built specifically for law enforcement. Law enforcement can, through the DRMO program, get armored type vehicles, and
so the Bearcat's not one of those.
The Bearcat is not. The Bearcat's one that Oxford actually purchased so that we could have and didn't have to
but it still
rely on the
looks
government.
military-like.
It does, yes,
Yeah.
but it's built specifically for law enforcement.
Well, that's one of the things I want to talk about because it's fresh in the news where the President Trump has lifted that ban on selling, or not selling, but giving surplus military equipment
Correct.
to law enforcement agencies. And what better use is than,
Absolutely. We get lots of things from the government for free. I've just come back from a trip where we picked up some equipment, and it's not all guns and armored vehicles. It's things that the government's just going to throw away, and I've seen them take perfectly great equipment and throw it in a dumpster and not allow anybody to get to it.
Yeah.
But where we can go and pick up different articles that the city doesn't have to purchase for us now, and the armored vehicles are one of those. Now the armored vehicles, they're very controlled. It's not something that we can just go out and sell. We can't do anything like that with them. They keep a tight rein on them, which I'm glad they do.
Yeah, I had some M1 rifles like that for my honor guard, and every year I had to take pictures of them. I had to sign papers saying where they were, make sure that they were not firing real live ammunition and stuff like that. Even though I'd tell the audiences up there at Memorial Day that my guys fire
That's
their
right.
blanks. But the thing about that is as I mentioned earlier, if I'm a hostage in a building and the police are coming to rescue me, I don't want them in a cruiser when they can come in a tank.
I like to be safe.
Yeah.
And one thing Oxford is great about is providing us with good equipment, and having that equipment there if it's needed is just wonderful. I mean, I can't thank the city enough for providing it for us.
Protecting the officers as well as the public. And that's
Absolutely.
the main thing. If you've got a shooter and you just going in there with no kind of ballistic protection, everybody's at risk, including the
If you save one life, whether it's a citizen or a police officer, then I think that purchase is worth
what's a
it.
life worth? That's where
it.
you're getting the guy. Well, I was glad to see that happen back because, and you said the equipment. I know you got robots that you can actually send, and this may not be part of the military equipment, but I know Oxford.
It is.
I was impressed to see that you can send a robot to the front door instead of an officer, and you can have a camera in that robot and a microphone speaking to that person in the house.
That robot's strong enough it can reach over and grab the doorknob and open the front door for us, or it can push the door in for us if we need it to. And it is also surplus government equipment.
Yeah, and I said, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, but we don't want that. And then are the drones? Is that part of it? Does that
The drones are not.
Okay.
I'm one of our pilots for the drones,
yeah.
but
Well, that's an awesome deal. You got something going on out there that you can't get into. You don't want to put your officers exposed into it, and you can look at it from overhead. What an awesome deal that is.
exactly.
Because I remember a few years back they had, when Officer Sullivan, when he was hunting history, they were using that 113 going through the woods, and this guy, the perp, was within view of them at all times.
Just to have that extra intelligence
And to have that protection for
and
your
the
people
protection
that's
for
going in
that.
there to
Absolutely.
respond. It's not to say that somebody couldn't penetrate the wall of a 113, and I'm talking about an Army personnel carrier is what it's called. And then for them to, instead of throwing that merchandise away or putting it in the grinder, and I've seen them grind up vehicles out at the depot, but I mean, put it in the grinder, they put it out there to save lives, and and they still have a thing called Homeland Security. You guys are part of Homeland Security. When we was in the military, we was fighting overseas, but somebody's got to take care of the homeland, or what are you fighting for?
That's
Let
right.
this go?
That's right. We like to think that we have everybody's back that's fighting overseas,
That's
that we're
it.
taking care of their families here.
No difference. It's just different zip code is what it's about to. Okay, let's see what else I want. I made myself some notes because I don't want to miss all this. Okay, let's just talk about something that you turn on your Facebook and there's somebody yelling about their they've been stopped for speeding or whatever, and they're yelling about their constitutional right not to show their driver's license, etc. I got a pretty good feeling about what you think about it, but what are your thoughts on it? Because people out there is watching.
Well, in the state of Alabama, you do have to show your driver's license.
Why?
One, it is actually property of the state.
Absolutely.
So you do have to hand over your driver's license. It's not the case in all states, but in Alabama it is. And the Supreme Court has said that I can identify people in a car. So, so yes, you do have to identify yourself to me, especially if I'm investigating a crime, which speeding or something such as that would be a crime.
Well, and just a traffic stop, when you see somebody that just maybe driving just a little bit over the line or whatever, just didn't really violate any big law, you don't intend to write them a citation, you just want to check on their welfare sometimes. And I know the officers have done that, said, ma'am, are you okay?
Oh, absolutely.
I noticed you took off real slow or you stopping too fast, and so you want to check on them, and you're doing it for their benefit to see if they're okay, because they're doing a hesitation and stuff like that, and you do have the right to do that.
Absolutely.
And they bring on this thing about the Constitution. Oh, under the Constitution, I don't have that. I saw that for you. But we're running into a break time, so here I'll finish up and we'll come back on that. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Officer Lyon, and we're going to talk about the things going on in the city of Oxford and elsewhere. Be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issue. We're talking with Jerry Lyons from the Oxford Police Department. And we were talking about social media and things like that when we left about. I guess in social media, would you say that it's good or bad?
Absolutely. It's both.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what do you mean by that?
Well, I think it can be used for good. I think Chief Partridge has a great social media presence, and he uses it to get information out there to the public. And I think in cases like that it's really good for public safety.
Yeah, he puts out warnings and stuff, and I never forget. I probably said this 100 times on here. One day he was put out a message about, and he was on the show, and he had put out something about don't put boxes. You buy a new item, don't put boxes out on the street because you're televising. You're telling the crooks that you just put up a 50-inch television inside your house because the box is out there on the street. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I just put a box out there on the way home.
Oh goodness!
Yeah, and it was for a 32-inch, but the box is laying on the edge of the road for them to pick up.
Just lets all the criminals know what's inside.
When I left the station, I couldn't get home fast enough to get that box.
That's just like advertising when you go on vacation.
I did.
That's
And
something else that you
That's
shouldn't
another
do.
thing he puts out there that I never thought about. I'm in Florida and I'm sending home all these pictures of the beach, and I'm guilty of it. I even send video. Guess what? I'm telling everybody 'cause they see the time.
My wife saves them all till we get home, and
Right.
then post them all online then.
How smart is that? But I mean, people do it, and they're doing it today.
And I tell you, the most important advice he puts out is to lock your car doors and hide your valuables from your
Yeah.
cars. That's more people are having property taken just because the door's not locked.
Yeah, I do 50%. I always lock the door. I'm not saying I hide anything. I've got a little tray up there that when I get change from something, I lay that change up there. Well, it's very viewable, and I've had people, when I stopped, somebody come by me in the parking lot and said, it was Walmart, and he said, can I have some of that change? No, you can't have none of that change there, but it was obvious. Even my tinted windows, they're looking in and see that change laying up on top, so I was advertising in that one.
That's
So.
right. Hiding purchases if you're going to leave them in a car, locking the doors.
So the social media is a good thing if you use properly. I know a lot of people tune in to the shoplifters Saturday of the shoplifters thing.
One of the most popular.
If you shoplift in the city of Oxford, you're gonna get famous.
Absolutely.
They're gonna make you famous, and I notice sometimes it'll be like they're caught 15, but they only post pictures on 13. I never asked that question.
There's certain criteria they use. I think some of it is whether it was if they were caught on site. I think is part of what part of the criteria is. I'm not certain of the rest of
Yeah.
it, but there's certain criteria they use to make sure that we're not putting people up there that we shouldn't.
But I've seen a lot of them, and every once in a while I see some that I know, and the ones that I do know, it's drug related. And I would just about guess that a lot of that is to get money.
And a lot of your theft crimes, that's one of the reasons behind it.
I've heard about weed eaters and things like that people leave out, that they go in and get that just to pawn it, get $5 or $10.
Anything they can get quick money for.
And that's something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see here. I saw something. We just got through the storm. How did Oxford do in the storm, by the way?
I'm very proud to work at Oxford. I think they handled it very well. We had our emergency operations center open, had all the chiefs and mayors and the people like that there making decisions. We also opened up the storm shelter at the Civic Center. We had policemen there, firemen there, made sure everybody was fed, had warm bedding and such.
Did you have some people?
Absolutely, they sure did.
Was that from out of state?
I think that was some of it, and I think some were more homeless people around, and just a mixture of everybody.
Correct. Well, the one thing that I want to make sure we get across today, if we don't, is the predictions of Hurricane Irma were going to be devastating for our area in Calhoun and the city of Oxford and all this stuff. It didn't turn out that way, but it could have. And I'll say this, if it wasn't for Cuba slowing it down before it hit the Keys, it would have had a lot more speed when it hit and just the shift to the left or shift to the right made all the difference in the world. Look what's happened as we're doing the show today in Jacksonville, Florida. They wasn't even thinking about it in Jacksonville. Now they're flooded like crazy.
Weather is something that's hard to predict.
It is.
And you have to err on the side of caution.
I heard them saying in Florida that the next one they're not going to bail out. They're not going to evacuate for the next one. So that's what I fear about us in Oxford and places like that, where we're going to say, "Oh, look what happened to Irma. It petered out, before it ever got here." The next one might not be so lucky.
You always have to err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
It's you can't replace lives, so you have to take it seriously.
I remember one we had, I guess a Hugo or whatever. We had I went to work at the depot, and I wasn't going to go in, and I called, and the security said that they're waiting on me to get there because I was an environmental person. And when I got there, I had chemical vats that was 3,000 gallons of bad chemicals that you use in metal finish and stuff were floating like boats. And guess where the chemicals were? And it was horrible. Nobody had expected that. I got up and I started to pull away from my house. There was a tree laying over at the end of my house, and it was just a little storm that was coming. It was a tropical storm. What I got to worry about? I don't live in the tropics, And so I hope that we don't drop our guard and get complacent when the next one comes. And when you hear the warnings, that you take heed to them, because that's what can happen when something like Irma happens.
Absolutely. I'd rather be prepared and not need it than not be prepared.
Y'all canceled some stuff.
We had a blood drive planned for yesterday, but it wasn't worth having people come out to do that. We can reschedule. We
canceled the Dwayne Williams Memorial out in Jacksonville. Now, the thing was, when you close schools, there's a chain goes on down. Now you got kids at home. People at home that might be going to participate in the blood drive or in the ceremony we were going to do, now have to worry about children being in their home. That they're not going to be there when they plan the ceremony. So there's a lot of things that happens when you close down schools, and closing schools is a risky thing. It's err on the side of caution, I guess, is the best thing.
Absolutely. The last things those educators and administrators want is for a child to be in danger, and they have to plan way ahead to make sure that they are safe. People do have to take off from work to take care of kids at home, and you don't want to wait till the last minute to say, "Hey, oh, by the way, we've canceled school."
How many kids you got in Oxford High School?
Ooh,
or how many you got?
That's a good question. I
hundreds.
know thousands.
Thousands. Okay,
between the school
you've got the lights out, thousands of kids, no power. Hot and dangerous to step outside because you didn't make that decision to empty that school.
And dangerous to get them home in buses that are high-profile vehicles.
I'm going to run out of time before I get to the Chocolaca Park.
Yes, sir.
You work down there a lot.
I do. Yeah. I'm there all the time. Love it.
How did it go with the ball game?
It was wonderful. The World Series came through, and there were people here from 11 different states playing in that. And they told us it was the best ballpark they'd ever played at. Most of them.
No major problems.
None at all.
Great.
Thank
great
you,
job,
sir.
and I appreciate what you do, and you're a great officer.
Thank you for having me.
You serve in my city.
I appreciate it.
We got to go to a break, come back. I got news that you can use. Stay where you are. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. I appreciate Jerry Lyons coming in here from Oxford Police, and I hope we learned a lot about that, and we'll have Chief Partridge back on here soon, and we'll talk more in depth about that. So the one I want you to have the pen is, this is a number I want you to write down. If you don't want it for yourself, give it to somebody that's close to a veteran. It's 855-948-2311. That's the number at the White House that the President has set up for veterans and their families to call. If you got somebody that's at risk, suicidal, that's the line to call, but it's not the suicide line. That's a line to get anything to do with veterans. Veterans are us type thing. So if you got a question about veteran benefits, et cetera, that's the number to call, 855-948-2311. Now here's a website I want you to write down and keep handy, because if you know of a veteran that's in duress, stranded, needs help, or whatever, needs a ramp built for their wheelchairs or whatever, it's Wounded Warriors Alabama. One word, Wounded Warrior Alabama @gmail.com. @gmail.com. Wounded Warrior Alabama @gmail.com. Phone number is 256-458-2715. That is set up by Ross Winter, and Ross is a Special Forces as well. He's an airborne veteran, and he's helped a lot of veterans out there. You don't have to be a wounded warrior to get help through this. So if you know of somebody's in need, stranded or whatever, there's the number to call. For years, we've had all kind of problem here in the area where close to the interstate, veterans would be stranded and there's no agency that I could call to help. Now I know somebody that I can call, and he's a good man and he does help a lot of them. The Firefighters Memorial, we should be, as we're doing this show today, we'll be meeting tomorrow to go ahead and put the final touches to that. We should see a dozer operating up there before long. We're going to get that, hopefully have it built by the first of the year. It'll be the official Firefighters Memorial for the state of Alabama. It'll be located facing the law enforcement memorial up there. So if you see any work going on up there and people asking what they're doing, they're not digging up, taking down something, they're putting up something in the park. And before that's over, we hope to have the Afghanistan and the Iraq memorials. Those are the official memorials for the state of Alabama, so keep your eyes on Centennial Memorial Park. I said a while back I needed wheelchairs, the power chairs with the batteries, give them to veterans that not qualified for one through the VA or any other insurance plan. So they use them to go to their mailboxes and up and down the street and that kind of thing. And I said I didn't need any, but now I've given the last one away. So if you got one and you no longer need it or have a veteran that no longer needs his wheelchair, let me know. I'll come pick it up and make sure that the veteran that needs it has one. Remember September the 29th from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the CBOC there behind Logan's, the VA clinic, giving away flu shots and also get your pneumonia shot or whatever. Get your blood pressure checked, whatever. It's a flu fair, but it's not just for the shot. So 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock there at the Oxford VA clinic. The law enforcement tag, when you get ready to renew your tag, look at the law enforcement tag as an option, because you don't have to be in law enforcement to have that tag, but part of the revenue from the tag goes to Centennial Memorial Park to help. We have to add names or do anything to do with the park up there. That's the way those funds are derived, from the law enforcement tag. And it looks good on your car, but it also got the shield and the rose on there that says the operator of that vehicle does care about the law enforcement officers that lost their life in the line of duty, and that's an awesome statement on your behalf. So look at that when you get ready to renew your tag. Get your your choice card, and call the VA 205-933-8101. Get your choice card. This week's salute's going to go out to all of those guys and girls that work in the Oxford Police Department. We're so proud of them. Appreciate what you did during this storm, being ready, and we'll see you next week right here on Veterans Issues. Salute.